Hello and welcome to Year 3's presentation evening. I know that it's slightly different from other presentation evenings you've been to, but I hope it's just as informative. And if you do have any questions, feel free to send your questions to the staff and I'll answer them as quickly as possible. Enjoy. In Year 3, we work on 3 key aims. So the first one is to encourage independence. We do this obviously in every year, but this year we really work on them doing things by themselves, them working things out for themselves, and just less adult guidance needed in certain areas of school. We also work on being reflective and them growing in confidence. So they're going to be doing lots of self-evaluation, peer evaluation, looking over their work, lots of purple penning in their books, just making sure that they're reflecting on what they're doing and making sure that they're really happy with their work. And and that links into our next aim, which is encouraging children to take their own learning further. So rather than having to come to a grown-up and saying, okay, what do I do next? They should know the next steps and be able to sort of take ownership of their learning, being able to go and find the next step, know what to do rather than having to go put their hand up and say, I'm finished. Hopefully they'll be able to, by the end of this year, know exactly what they need to do next. There's lots of finished work areas in the classroom that they can go take a task and bring it to their table without having to put their hand up and say, I'm finished. Our curriculum in Year 3 is very similar to younger years, except this year, instead of doing the Read, Write, Ink phonics programme, we work and move up to the spelling programme. So instead of having a new phonics sound, they now have a new spelling rule that we'll do and move on to every other week. We go over this in class, and then this is also what gets sent home in your homework, which is explained in a later slide. So we still do our mathematics mastery programme, and we really try and do a cross-curricular approach to our teaching. So, for example, for this term, we're doing the rainforest. We're learning about plants in science, the rainforest in our geography, and in English, we're doing loads of work on the Great Kapok Tree. So everything is linked together, which hopefully helps them with the enthusiasm for our new themes. In Year 3, we work on the Amazon rainforest in our first term. We move on to the Stone Age, which the children loved last year. Extreme weather, where we learn all about different types of weather. We do some work on volcanoes and things like that. So they really enjoyed that last year. In Spring 2, we do the Egyptian Adventure, and then we move on to Shady Shadows and Cosmic Chaos. Our timetable this year tends to be fairly simple, so we'll do maths first thing. After maths, we'll do some handwriting, then we go out to play. We will always do some whole class reading, and then after whole class reading, we'll work on our English lessons, and then we'll do our reading and our spelling and grammar just before lunch. And then obviously at the moment, because of our adjusted timetables, we have lunch a little bit later. And then in the afternoons, that's when we tend to cover our core subjects. So we'll do history or geography. We do French, which the kids have been really enjoying. We do some RE, science, computing. So we do all of the subjects then. So we'll do all of our core subjects then. This year we will be using class dojos again, so I used them in Year 1 with this class, and they're going to be using them again this year. We do them slightly differently this year. Rather than having an overall winner from the week, they have new challenges. So at 10 dojos they can change their dojo monster. At 20 dojos, they can pick a brain break. So there's lots of different things for them to achieve. So rather than competing against each other, they're competing against themselves to try and get these rewards, which they've been really loving. Homework this year, there's 3 pieces of homework. So as always, we are going to ask if you could read at least 5 times a week with them. It's got that colour-coded thing at the beginning of your reading record again. So we will still be traffic lighting how much they've read. With reading in school, we tend not to read with them every week like they did in Key Stage 1. So it might be that they get read to twice a half term or every other week. But because of the demands and the things in Key Stage 2, we don't read with them every week. So if I haven't read with your child for a few weeks, there's usually a reason for that. So we try and read with them at least twice a half term and move them up. With reading this year, although in some of the lower years they do tend to move up the stages quite quickly, now that we're in Key Stage 2, we try to slow that down a little bit, obviously not to the detriment of your child's reading, but we expect them over this year to move up 3 reading stages. So if we put that into time, once a term. So we understand that in Key Stage 1 they moved up quite a lot, and they go through some of the lower reading stages quite quickly. Now that we're in Key Stage 2, it tends to slow down a little bit, so don't be alarmed if your child is suddenly not moving up quite as quickly as they were, because we try to make sure that they're definitely ready for that next stage. So as soon as they are, we move them up. But the rule of thumb is that we try to move them up 3 stages over the year. So that's reading. We also, it went home in a letter recently about their spelling and the work on ready, writer and mathletics. So they get a spelling log that gets sent home every other week with the spelling rule that goes with what we've been learning in class. And they have to write 5 words in that spelling log to do with our new rule. And then on Ready Writer, there is a challenge also to do with the rule that we have been learning. And that's set every other Monday when we move on to a new learning rule, a new spelling rule, sorry. It will always correspond with what we're doing in class. And then you will also get every Monday a mathletics challenge. This, again, it's to do with something that we're learning about in class, but there'll be a mathletics activity that's put on every Monday. So there's 3 things that we do in Year 3. So there's the reading, the spelling log and Ready Writer that sort of comes as one, and then the mathletics. This year we're still going to be doing the spelling challenge, so your child should have been sent home with the words a few weeks ago. It will still be in the same format as in Year 1 and Year 2, where each half term we'll do a spelling challenge with them for the words for the half term, and we try and get the children to do as well as they can on that. So these will still be coming home with you, and we will be doing that every half term. So just some general reminders to end. We have our PE on a Monday and Wednesday, and they come in their PE kits now. So on a Monday they do it with Miss Thompson, and on a Wednesday they do it with me. We also have show and tell on a Friday, so we now don't have designated show and tell days, but if the child has anything related to the learning or anything that they've achieved, then they're welcome to bring it, and we'll do that every Friday. We just ask that there's no toys or things not related to our learning unless it's an achievement. So no longer a designated day, it's just every Friday. If your child has something they would like to show, then they can bring that in. Please make sure that all items of uniform are named so that we can return them to their rightful owner when they are lost in the playground. And also, now that your child brings in their own fruit, if the containers could be named, so have both the lid and the base named, because often when they come to us, they don't come to us together. So if they could just be named so that, again, they could be returned to the rightful owner when lost in the playground. If you have any questions about the presentation or about the Year 3 in general, feel free to email the staff at, and I'll try and respond as quickly as possible. But I hope you enjoyed this slightly different presentation evening.